4:30. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Allie, if you can verify Kansas Open Meetings Act has been confirmed.
Yes.
Thank you. If everybody, sorry. Yeah, that's me. If everybody has had a chance to look at meeting minutes from September, we are in October. Unless there's any edits that need to be made, I will ask for an approval of September's minutes. Are there any updates or edits, changes?
I approve.
Bob has motion. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Amanda is second. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion is approved. Okay, so I have moved things around a little bit. Maybe this isn't going to show on the screen. Okay. Just for the flow of the meetings, we've had old business at the end of things. It just kind of felt a little clunky as we were getting through, so I've just changed the format of the agenda so we can clean up whatever we had from the month before, get that out of the way, and then move on to the new stuff. So again, just bringing to attention some calls for art. Again, Sculpture Tour Salina call is on Cafe. Currently, folks can still apply via Google Drive, or is that, yes. So we're kind of in that transition year, but that's open and open till the 31st of the year. We talked about the button call, I think last month. That's wrapped up. We actually have some buttons. We didn't bring them in here, but we might be able to grab some of those before you guys leave. And another call that is currently open through the Art Center is their annual gala. This year the theme is In Bloom, a garden gala, and those proposals or applications are due November 7th. So if anybody's interested in that or want to share that, that is a fashion design opportunity. I think it can be very sculptural. So check out the Art Center website for more details on that, but those are two calls that are currently open right now. Is there anything else, like if you guys have any other opportunities, I think this is a good chance to share. If you've heard of anything else, again, artist opportunities. If you hear of anything that's coming through, if you guys ever want to share that with us, those are things that we can share on the Creative Connections. That's our bi-weekly email that goes out with just an informative article that oftentimes comes from staff. If anybody else in the general public wants to write something, it goes out to about 500 or 600 people bi-weekly, and then we attach artist opportunities, and it's not just visual arts, it's just across the board. So anytime, if you have an exhibit or somebody else and they want to share that, that is a really good place, a good platform. We're very open to that. If people want to contribute information or write for that. But again, if you have opportunities, we don't always catch all of them, but I think it's nice to share some, especially the local, regional stuff in here, or be able to share that on the Creative Connections. And if you're looking for opportunities, that's a good place to look. Public art care and maintenance updates, just a few things. The signage for Kansas Promise has been ordered, so we talked about that installation is at Lakewood. Signs, usually a pretty quick turnaround. We'll have a please enjoy but do not climb, and then the artist identification and all of that stuff. So I'm hoping those are pretty quick, so I would say here maybe in the next couple weeks we'll have those done and installed. It'll be a good chance to get some photographs, wrap up, and send that stuff to Governor Graves and his wife Linda with a thank you. That might be a nice chance for this committee to say thank you and get a card out. You guys are, again, a big part of that process for getting things moved through. We are expecting the capstone for the People's Choice to arrive. I got word that it should be on grounds of the United States as of yesterday, but I haven't got that official update. It projected that we will have, the engraving will be completed, we'll get that installation done. The People's Choice that is still currently in the museum will get moved ahead of Veterans Day. So we're actually not too far off with that. We will send out a official press release to let people know, because that timeline certainly took a little bit longer than we expected. I'm not aware of any on-site ceremonies or celebrations at Sunset Park, but we might share that if that comes to surface. But definitely get out a press release and let you guys know when that's happening. So otherwise, sort of the things that we talked about last month, kind of wrapping up for the year. We'll probably come back to that when we're reviewing our annual report and setting goals, and looking at, like, did we hit those goals that we set for 2025, and maybe coming back to some of those sculptures that need some work and what's left in the budget for the year. Does anybody have any questions about where we're at on care and maintenance? I started to look at goals, and I think maybe there's a couple things I need to put the gas on. But, okay, well, we'll go ahead and move to new business. Everybody has a few things in front of you. The first thing, and I want to mention this as the passport to the arts. So here, you don't have a whole lot of time to utilize this, but the passport to the arts is essentially celebrating some big anniversaries across some of our cultural organizations. 60 years for arts and humanities, kind of this fall, and moving into next year, you have our 60 years sticker there. But the passport is, you can go to the Smoky Hill Museum, so really, well, depending on how quickly I get through this meeting, you could maybe hit the museum today. So each location, the museum, us, I will be willing to give you guys a punch card because you were here, Arts and Humanities today. The Symphony, and then Theater Salina. So you go in there, they will give you a punch. You have to be 18 or older to win, but there are 4 prize packages with all sorts of different stuff, I think, from those
One per organization.
So gift basket, 1 per organization. You don't necessarily put it into, they all go into one big basket. So I don't know what's in them, but I hear that they're, I don't know, worth making the stop. So all you have to do is show up. The Symphony, I'm not going to be able to give good direction as to where. I think you have to go to the office at the Symphony.
Yeah.
To get the punch card. So you don't have to attend the event. It's about going into the space, and maybe a space you haven't been into ever, or maybe not in a while. So this is open until the end of the month, just encouraging to visit some of these spaces, and you might realize there's an event when you walk through the door that you actually want to buy a ticket for. So yeah, till the end of the month, and then these get drawn on the 5th, and you can drop these off at any of those organizations. So once you've got it punched, you can just drop it there. So kind of a good way to jump in. I do want to share kind of with that a couple things, just a couple like resources that are out in the world to talk about our culturals. Last Monday, gosh, it feels like it's been a couple weeks, we did a state of the arts presentation, which we've been doing for a number of years now, to City Commission. This year it really featured the different culturals, like the Symphony, the zoo. The last couple years, it was primarily our arts and humanities staff talking about programming that we were doing, but it really was focused. So we have some paper copies of that packet, the Cultural Arts Landscape in Salina. It is available on our website if you guys are more curious about what's happening and why funding and sort of our collaborations are really important here. So you guys are welcome to take a paper copy. And if any of you, if you received Kansas Magazine, there was a write-up on the Smoky Hill River Festival. This was done by Patricia Ackerman, local author. Tanner Colvin did photographs, so this, I believe, was in the works for about the last year. Patricia asked to write this. You're welcome to take a look at this. This isn't something, you can't just like order a copy. I think you have to be subscribed to Kansas Magazine. So if you'd like to see this, we could probably send you a digital copy, but we could share this with you also. So just some nice documentation, a good chance to dig in a little bit deeper. October is Arts and Humanities Month, so that's why we typically do State of the Arts to City Commission. So, yeah, take an opportunity to get your passport punched. You might get some goodies in those prizes. So, we do have, oh, my TV, there it goes. Cool. We will have a new Arts Commission liaison, Douglas Bailey. Douglas is on vacation right now, so I told him he's going to get all the homework when he does it. He's not here, he's going to get all the homework. But hopefully he will be back next month for a proper introduction, and he can tell you guys a little bit about yourselves. We'll kind of reintroduce everybody. And he is brand new to the Arts Commission, so it was his first meeting, and then he got wrangled into being our CAD liaison. So hopefully we'll get an introduction before the end of the year. And we're on to our public art research. And Andrea, and I will note, Andrea, we misspelled your last name on the agenda.
It's okay, it happens all the time.
And I just noticed it today. So before we jump into that, I would like to establish we only have one more meeting for the year. Everybody in here has done it except for Natalie and Barbara. I'd like the two of you to do a presentation. We could do 2 in December, maybe, or push 1 to January.
We don't need December.
Sorry, thank you. November. We can do 2 in November, or just do 1 and then somebody does 1 in January.
And get it over with. Yeah. Okay.
You want to both do it in November? Okay, good. I think we forgot to, vote who's going next last month. So, okay, we've got our 2 November presentations. And Andrea, I will pull up your presentation on here. Andrea has got a beautiful public art presentation that makes my CAD PowerPoint not exciting.
I have a job that allows a lot of free time, so.
I was like, oh, I gotta level up, so.
Whatever.
Yeah, let me know how you want me to scroll through
I'll
here.
just say click.
Okay.
Okay, so I chose Bend, Oregon. I was hoping to pick a place that I had been before, but also I was trying to find a city that was a little bit bigger than ours, but not too much bigger, so that we could kind of have, maybe get some ideas of where we could be heading. And the other thing I loved about Bend, which if you would go to the next slide, click. You'll see that it's kind of like us. It's away from the bigger metropolitan areas, so if you're planning on going there, it's really to go there. It's not like, oh, I'm driving on my way to Portland, or, it's a little bit out of the way. So I kind of like that similarity with Salina. And I just mentioned that it has a logging background. That's how it started. And there's still a very large presence in their art program and just in everything that you see around town. So, click. All right, so Art in Public Places, that is their main organization that is in charge of visual arts in that area. And actually, it's not even that old. It was started in the 70s by just 2 women, and they started bringing in classes and just bringing in artists to do demonstrations and stuff. It's very, low-key under the radar, and it's just kind of grown organically since then. But this is the front page of their website, and I've got the link down there too. But you can see that they've got a really nice, concise website that I think is what we're headed toward in terms of cataloging and.
Do you want me to
look at the public
Do you
art?
want me to,
No, it's okay.
Okay.
You'll see a bunch of the slides.
Okay.
But at the top, you can see the public art collection. That's everything. And then it's kind of broken down a little bit smaller. The roundabout art route, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And then the public input, which I talk about as well. Click. So here are just a couple of pieces from the public art collection. And like I mentioned, it's got, they've kind of got something for everyone, which I really loved. A lot of it is very traditional, like you can see the bronze up at the top, but then they also have some really modern things, and the iconography really spans the gamut about what it is they want to show. So from very traditional to very modern, that high desert spiral on the bottom there, that's actually, I put it in there. Suspended steel blades, and it moves in the wind. So very cool, and I love that they also have a very keen eye for things that are recycled. So that's a very big push in that area. Click. And then here's just a few more of the pieces. You can see kind of what I'm talking about in terms of the mix of old and new, and kind of something for everyone. Click. So I thought this was really interesting, the roundabout art route. And they have over 40 roundabouts in the Bend area, which is not a huge town, and 22 of them currently have sculptures placed in the middle of them. So you can either go and pick up an actual map and go through it self-directed, or you can just go on the interactive map on their website and click through all of them. But I thought that was a really interesting use of space and kind of something to remember about Bend, you know, like something that stood out to me that I kind of remembered as well from being there, like, oh wow, there's something there and something there, you know, so it's kind of fun. Click. And then they have a couple of festivals throughout the year. Their big one is the Summer Festival, which is just like our Riverfest. One thing though that I really love that they do is this thing in the fall called the $20 show. And anybody in the area, you don't have to be an artist. You know, you can really be anyone. And they will display your art for 3 weeks in this particular gallery, and it's open to the public and free. And then the last weekend, it's actually a paid event, and you can come in and everything goes on sale, and everything's $20. So it's a really nice entry point to kind of get people interested, and maybe not be so intimidating as when you go to like those larger festivals and you're like, oh, I love that. Oh, it's $10,000. So, click. And then this was another thing that I love that they did that is kind of like what we do with the art walk, but they have proposals that they're putting out, and or I guess RFPs, do they call them that in your line?
RFPs are requests for proposal, RFQ, requests for qualifications. I don't want to dig too deep in the
Okay, something like that.
Something
They put
like
out
that.
a call that says, hey, we've got these structures that we're going to be building. Artists can submit what they want to, and then the public actually gets to vote on it. So I thought that was really cool. They've got 3 pieces that they're doing right now, that bike shelter, the trash enclosure, and then that plant enclosure. I just showed one of the options. They were actually all 3, but they had like side views and elevations and everything that I think you probably look at that the general public I don't think would normally see. So I thought that was really nice to, a great way to engage the community and kind of give them a little behind the scenes as to what you guys do.
Yeah, that I would say that sort of showing all of that, like the elevations and being able to lay it out like that, something we would really see more of in like a capital improvement project of like when you're working, like especially this kind of thing where it's just like, this looks like architecture and engineering.
Well, I
is
thought
high-
fire station.
Yeah, like highly
Yeah.
involved. So it's like, how do you identify those spaces? And those drawings like are gonna come from the engineers, architects, to say this is, you've really gotta map it out and be
Mhm.
really specific. Where we've got the trash corrals and it's kind of like, okay, it's gonna be a panel,
Right.
but they're not having to build or like attach something. It's a pretty straightforward mural as opposed to like thinking about how the build is. But
Mhm.
depends on your resources and who's able to administrate the call too.
Yeah.
So.
Click. All right, and then finally they have a really nice group of murals. This one happens to be in the Old Mill District, which is where several of them are. The Old Mill District is a repurposed area that it's right on the river. It's really beautiful. They have all kinds of restaurants and everything down there. So I loved this because I saw this a lot when I was in Europe. It seemed like every major city we went to, the murals were all on the stairs, and I'd never seen that before. So I thought that was kind of cool.
That was a lot. The mosaics in San Juan,
Oh,
like
really?
that was, I mean, they were all over.
Yeah.
But on the stairs, that was also where it was like, I got hyper fixated on
Yeah.
this, you know, you're like trying to look at the thing, but they were just, I mean, just on everything. So
Mhm.
it's a really, I think, a nice use of something you have to kind of participate in. like, I don't know, stairs are just stairs, but that's a
It's beautiful now.
beautiful
Yeah.
opportunity.
Click. And then here was another one that they did, and this one was actually really cool because the one on top, don't go too far yet.
Okay. Sorry, I was like, where's my slides?
That's
are?
okay. The one on top, because it was 20 Nike designers, and they worked with kids from the Art Academy and the Boys and Girls Club, and they all came up with that design together. So I thought, how cool would that be for kids, you know, to see something like that that will be there for a really long time, and they can, you know, really interact with it. Okay, next one. And then finally, here are 3 from the Tin Pan Alley collection. So this is another thing that they did where they found places that were really kind of eyesores previously, like alleys and just ugly walls within the area. And they've done a collection of murals that they put on there. So I thought that was a really interesting way to incorporate more art into the city, but also make it more interesting than just walking down an alley. I mean, I don't know how artists would sometimes feel about knowing that their pieces were going, you know, just in an alley as opposed to something more prominent, but I thought it was a really interesting and fun use of space.
It's interesting, I mean, their approach to, and I've seen this on other places too, where as opposed to just painting directly on the wall, because there is, you know, maybe painting directly on brick or some surfaces can compromise the lifetime of that, but also the way they've got these mounted on panels that they're easy to take down, you don't have to like paint the thing in that space. That makes it, I think, very accessible for a lot of artists that you may not be prepared to paint outdoors, so those can be done and then installed. So I think that's an interesting thing. I don't know that we have anywhere. I feel like most of our murals are directly on walls here, but this could be a good consideration, especially if they were on rotation. But yeah, I've seen that in different ways. But it's
I would
awesome.
allow for a river festival, like them to paint it at the festival and get displayed elsewhere later.
That'd be cool.
Not having
Since
to
we like those.
find- I don't think that's going to stop either. So.
And I think that's the last one.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? I was like, beautiful PowerPoint. Thank you for upstaging my.
We have one shit.
That's the first PowerPoint I've ever done.
Yeah. So
The
far
system made it
way up.
easy.
I was like, especially this month. I don't have like the photos are lacking this month in my PowerPoint. So thank you for bringing a little bit of color to the presentations today. So, okay. We will move on to reviewing our annual report. Something we did last year, we reviewed, without going back, we reviewed at sort of a halfway point. I don't remember if it was in May or July last year, but we came back to our goals and kind of saw where are we at, what do we have left for the rest of the year. It didn't happen. I was traveling in July, and that may be part of the reason, like things were a little goofy at that midpoint. So I want to do better about setting that on the calendar. May might be a good time to do that, you know, the 5th month into the year, since we don't have meetings in June. So I'm saying that out loud to hold myself accountable, because then it goes into the minutes. And thinking about setting that, because now we're in October and we only have 1 month left, that reviewing our goals and trying to keep on point is harder to do at the end of the year. So I want to make sure we're kind of doing that halfway point of like looking at where we're at and what we've got. You know, is it realistic to get through some of the things? So you guys all have a copy of last year's annual report. We're not going to go through the accomplishments. That's really like, what did we do for 2024? So the back page, today is sort of like reviewing, looking at like what did we get done this year? And a lot of this stuff is, you know, what you guys are supporting, but becomes, you know, it's a lot of the internal work that I do day to day, and you guys are supporting. So we're gonna kind of just run through this stuff. we don't have to have the draft today, but I wanted to review it today. That way you guys can kind of think about it. There's certainly a lot of things coming up in 2026, you know, as we think about 60 years of arts and humanities, how we might want to engage. We are putting out an RFP, RFQ for a new cultural plan. That is something that we've talked about. It's been a while, but it's kind of been something we expect to happen. That should go out. Brad is hoping for a pretty expedient timeline that will get that out, and that hopefully will get an organization who wants to administrate that cultural plan. That will involve a lot of community conversations. Undoubtedly, this committee would be involved in those conversations. You know, we might ask for folks to be a part of other communities, sort of like town hall meetings. We don't know what that's gonna look like, but knowing that RFQ, RFP will be going out shortly, and hopefully we can maybe kick off, probably take about 10 or 12 months through 2026. That timeline could change, but we're hoping that we can kind of kick off and really get started on that. And the cultural plan, the last time one was done was 2008, I believe. So we're nearing about 20 years from the last cultural plan. So it's not just about arts and humanities or visual arts. It is citywide, what we're doing. And you guys, if you've been around, you've seen a lot of changes. So what was, you know, expected in that cultural plan, I think Salina has really exceeded the expectations of what was laid out. We might identify some gaps, but I think we're a very different community from that one. So that will be something. We may have some news to share with you next month, but it may hit us all like a bus in January. So that's something to think about. You know, what do we want to set our goals in CAD, and knowing that we're going to be moving into a big new discussion about our cultural plan for the city. So I'm just going to kind of run through these things. I was looking through it earlier. The first thing on there was replace the base and fix patina on Watchdog sculpture. That is still on the restoration list. We've already pulled the Poca Poca sculpture. So we've already got one that wasn't really on our list from last year that got added to that. So if it's in the budget and feasible to get that Watchdog removed, we also, because the condition of the farmer sculpture, there's kind of 3 right now that I need to make a decision. The turtle is in storage safely. Again, we're not gonna make a decision on that placement until things like the upgrades, the splash pad is gonna be done at Jerry Ivy in the spring, so we're gonna wait until we understand that space. So some of that the work might get done, the reinstall might not happen until the spring. So Watchdog, I feel like, keeps sitting on this list, so I'm hoping that maybe we can get there this year. Support final recommendations on public art integration at Fire Station number 4. That project is just, it's kind of got the pause button right now with litigation happening. So we've got the artist proposals. I can't really give a timeline on when that will happen, but we still have our 2 artists that were recommended by the site committee. It's been a while since we've looked at any of that, so I'm hoping I expect to just keep that on there unless I get, you know, word some other way. Support the inclusion of public art projects along the Smoky Hill River Restoration Project's final design. I've had conversations with Jane Anderson and Martha Tasker. There are some pieces of interest. I believe we talked a little bit about that a few months ago, like the sculpture, the memorial sculpture that's at the mall. I've been collecting a lot of information on that because it's not part of the city collection. That was a group, so that's something I have been doing a lot of work on. There is interest from folks to get that as part of this project. There's still a lot of fundraising happening to actually pay for public art projects. If it's, and I don't want to bore everybody with the details until I hear from Jane what that looks like. If a donor were to donate and choose that process, that would become more, so like the Brian Richardson bronze, as we went through that process, that was privately funded and then donated. So they were choosing the artist and the designer, creating the piece, and then donating it. So depending on that fundraising, what becomes available, that could be a situation like that where it's driven by the donor. They're choosing an artist, and then we as a city decide what that care and maintenance looks like, what is our responsibility moving forward, and become part of the public collection. It would look different if the donor said, we don't want to manage to that, we want to put the money forward. Then it could become more like a capital improvement project where it would go through a site committee and a call. So unless that is just cash dollars donated to us, we're not driving those decisions. So there might be opportunity, we may be involved. Right now it's a little hard to tell, but I think that stays, I think that's one to stay on our list because we're going to be connected on some level, I think, throughout that process for quite a few years to come. Spring rededication for the Statue of Liberty. If you guys remember, we worked towards that. We didn't have interest. It just wasn't quite there, and it felt like we were making a decision and nobody really was on board. So I don't want to say we failed. We at least got a nice restoration. I personally enjoy driving through. I feel pretty proud of like getting that done. It's a really nice piece in our collection. So I think we did what we could. If there is any interest down the road to celebrate it, you know, we could be a part of that. Acceptance and placement of People's Choice. Well, we're almost there. As I said earlier, we should expect to see that. Again, we'll kind of leave that on the list because that's always, that's part of what we do. So in the spring, we'll consider placement. While I'm on that, I should remind everybody, sculpture tour, if you have not voted for your favorite sculpture, it's not too late. Applications are open until the 31st. Also, you can vote for your favorite sculpture. It's still pretty nice out there, so you could take your friends and family out and vote for your favorite sculpture. So we'll leave that on the list, of course, because it's always part of our process. The Bill and Linda Graves donation, we're nearing the end of that. Like I said, we'll get some good photos, get some thank yous together. Collaborate with Parks Department to prioritize newly identified art integration projects identified by city manager. Jeff and I have been working together on a lot of things. Clearly, with our two different departments, we have different goals or expectations. We do have a new city manager, Jacob Wood. He was our, not assistant, deputy city manager. So he's been on board as our official city manager for a while. So some of those things that we had on a list, they may change a little bit. Those will be discussions Jeff and I can talk about and bring that back and identify like what's available. Jeff's been really great about identifying opportunity as there's upgrades in all of the parks. So that may be where we look to Jeff to see what's on the list for 2026. Where are those areas of opportunity, and especially in relation to our People's Choice placement. And of course, we don't know what that is, so we'll always consider context and appropriate space for that. So yeah, I'll do some follow-up with Jeff, and hopefully next month maybe we'll have some things where we feel that it is a good priority or opportunity for the next year. Public conversation about Sunset Park. I don't think that has happened I haven't gotten any updates from Jeff on that, so we may keep that on there. We may take that off. I want to let Jeff give some indication if that is likely to happen in 2026. So again, kind of let Jeff drive that conversation a little bit. The support increased access and placement of public art in all neighborhoods and parks, such as, and I'm not going to read all of those, but those are really the locations that we still have available that are those areas that don't have public art or a level that people can engage with. So I think it's good to leave that on the goals for every year so we don't forget about some of these pocket parks. But again, and I know I've said this, it's kind of my broken record, but as you're moving about your neighborhoods and the community, if you see a space, you may not know unless you go to a city map, whether it is public property or private property, but if you see a space in a neighborhood, it's worth taking a photograph and noting that. Is it a space that there is public activity? Is it a gathering space for people? You know, is it well lit? Is it not well lit? And think about, like, we've looked at a lot of different public art and through our presentations, what we experience here in the city, to think about those locations. You know, we may be able to add to this list and identify spaces that we see as a group, to kind of keep that in our back pockets. Whether it's us needing to place a people's choice or an artist comes to us to say, hey, I'm interested in engaging public art, maybe that's where that collaboration happens. So just always keep your eyes out. Complete installation of all new signage on public art pieces. I think we're doing pretty good. I think there's just one at Oakdale that we got restored last year that needs a sign. It's in a place that I think I just need to get a little plaque. It's the I'm gonna call it the wrong thing. It's red, and it's sort of in the formal garden, but it's just kind of in the middle of the sidewalk, so it just needs sort of like a plaque glued to the ground. But I think everything else has got signage. If you guys, again, if you're out and about and you see something that's torn up, I think through our care and maintenance, all of that stuff that you guys did the year before, I think we got most of the stuff updated and identified. We're probably gonna shift a little bit and probably have to come back to that once we really start engaging the public art archive. But I think our signage is pretty up to date, but if you see something out there that's missing or highly damaged, please call that to my attention. I don't think we'll do the same process again of the reporting until we figure out what it looks like with the public art archive. So we might wait, that it may just look a little bit different, but yeah, always let us know if you guys see something out in the wild that needs a little repair. And support a final recommendation from the Fire Station Number 4 Site Committee to the Arts Commission and then to the City Commission for approval. We really did that. We did go through, so we identified the artist. You guys did make recommendation that did go to Arts Commission. But because we're just sort of in a holding pattern right now, the final ask to approve those artist designs have not gone to City Commission. So I think that's something that we'll just go ahead and hold for 2026. Like I said, if I get any word, that you guys will definitely know as soon as possible. And then the other items of interest, those are sort of the long-term things. Again, you know, it talks about the river restoration, support public art mapping systems and marketing. The mapping systems, I feel like I think this is gonna move up into our 2026 because that's gonna touch the public art archive mapping. We do have the ask out for like sculpture tour, boom, and SDI to get just the highest quality photos. We're focused on that. Like the last 3 years, So, and Boom's got a really great map already. Allie's been plugging all of this stuff into a spreadsheet, so we're hoping to start getting things to the staff at Public Art Archive the first week of November. So that mapping, I think that's part of it. I think the marketing piece is probably, I'm gonna say, is like a Public Art Archive. Really, we're, I think, thinking about an advocacy campaign for 2026. I don't know what that looks like quite yet, but something I think this committee especially can think about, and how we want to engage different activities. So I think that second one, really, I'll work on the language. I think separating those two things out a little bit. You guys are always serving as advocates, so that's always sort of just lingering. Yeah, the other items of interest, I think, are the things that kind of aren't always happening, but it's good to keep it as a reminder and on the books. Do you guys have any thoughts? I was like, I just kind of read that at you and kind of talked about some possibilities. Are there anything that top of mind right now that, I don't know, in all the presentations, like what cool things should we do next year? I mean, or connected to these things, or questions you have about like the stage at which maybe we're at. I'll try to have a better draft next month, and then we do the final approval in January. So we've got some time, but I feel like it's good to, before we break for 2 months and then come back to kind of look at that. We might ask, we do have our button campaign, the 50 Years of Festival. We do have some events that are Fridays and Saturdays. We have a list. We put that out to commissioners. We don't have it today. We'll bring that next month, because a lot of those dates are into the spring. It may be hard for people to know if they're available, but that could be something you guys, if you have the time to table at one of those events to help make buttons. I can't remember the activities off the top of my head, but Friday, Saturday events. So that could be part of the advocacy work, figuring out how we're tabling if you guys are available. But yeah, I'll work on updating this, but if there's anything that you guys, even in between now and our next meeting, if something comes up, or something you want to put onto discussion for November, let me know. But otherwise, I'll just work on editing, I guess. I always want to be mindful that we're not, you guys are a recommending body, not a group to decide new projects necessarily, but how can we effectively be advocates within the community. I mean, if you guys want to give yourselves homework, you can. I'm not going to do too much of that. But how can we set our goals in a way that we're not setting a goal to like purchase a piece of artwork? That's what we're not able to do. But are there new ways to engage, or organizations that may benefit from a conversation? Okay. And please take these with you. You might want to sit on that, and then we'll just kind of work on that draft in November. And we will have presentations from Barbara and Natalie, and then we'll be all wrapped up for that. Maybe there's something we could do. We've kind of had a project each year. So the year before was everybody taking responsibility for the care and maintenance reports. This year we did the public art presentations. I appreciate that support and the research that you guys have been doing that are sort of a little bit of homework outside of this. If there's something that we could do that is sort of a low-hanging fruit that engages our conversation beyond me just reporting back to you guys. I don't want to come up with I mean, I could, and you guys can tell me yes or no, but if there's something of that sort that doesn't obligate you guys to like 6 hours of whatever each month, but, you know, makes this a full, rich experience, as the committee, we can think about that. But there will be lots of events between year 50 of festival next year and celebrating year 60. I think we're gonna have some things coming down the line for us to engage. So I don't want to get too crazy about setting goals, because I think we'll have ways to participate and advocate in 2026. So, cool. Thank you, guys. Any other questions for clarification? Other items, important events that we need to know about?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I may be really stupid, but what's TS?
Theater.
Well, that makes sense.
When I was looking at that, I was like, oh gosh, what's the other one? And it took me a second, so.
Okay.
It's all
They've
good.
also changed their name, I think, a couple, like, where they go by the community, like, there's some, that's all right.
Yeah, it used to be SCTs.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
Theater.
think there's a few
And it
people that
still
still call
is
it
in my
community
brain, like,
theater
I
and-
haven't made the change
It's
yet.
physically on the building that way.
Yeah,
Is
on the
letters.
windows, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, so take a chance to get your passport. I don't, how many, have we got any submitted?
Do you want me to stay on record? I don't have any yet.
You just did. So your chances might be really good. Get out there, get those cards scotch. We will, we'll give you a punch before you leave. Enjoy the murals. It is October, Boom happened at the first of the month. I will encourage you, well, the museum's probably not open, so you might have to come back, but I hear they have 3D glasses in the museum for the current exhibition. And the mural that's over just in the
ATM.
the ATM drive-through,
Yeah.
Insane 51, it's a 3D mural. So you could get your card punch for the museum, get your 3D glasses, and then go enjoy some murals. I mean, win, win, win. And then you get all those punches, and you might win again. So,
And when's our next meeting?
oh, good call, Ally. Tuesday, November 18th, same room, same time, 4:30. And again, no meeting in December. So if there are no other comments, do I have a motion to adjourn? Terry and Barbara second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Denies it. Motion's passed.